The new. We've been married for 3 years, have a 2-year-old, and know that the best way to begin the new is to let go of the old. To cut a long tale short, her father went away 2 weeks ago, along with her grandmother and brother, within the previous 2 years. We both felt that we were the closest we had ever been before she departed. She was loving. While we have had our share of difficult times, generally, she was telling me every day at work by text and email how much she loved me, etc. We had a rule that we wouldn't be separated for longer than 2 weeks, but that changed when she traveled home to see her father, who was dying. It was 2 weeks earlier. She should return with my son on April 2nd, which is 3 or 4 weeks after Easter. She postponed her travel more each time. We got into a fight over it. Perhaps I ought to have shown her more compassion and understanding, but I was also concerned that she might suffer harm from outside forces. Friends, last week my sister-in-law's mother announced that she would be changing her plans to spend Easter at home with me. When I asked her if she had updated it the next day, she merely responded, "Oh, that's a hassle to call," or anything of that effect. All I stated was that I was considering changing it. This sparked another disagreement, less about her remaining for Easter and more about her general pattern of saying one thing and then acting as though she never said it. We started becoming closer once more, and then she just told me that she was confused, felt empty, didn't miss me, and wasn't sure if she loved me. I inquired whether she still planned to return on April 2nd, but I didn't receive a straight response. She simply states, "I don't know the answers to anything," adding that she wants romance, which we haven't experienced. She deserves more affection and regard. I informed her that while I agreed, things had been difficult due to a new baby, a death in her family, and a move. I gave her the emails and advised her to keep in mind how she felt before leaving. To be really honest, I have no idea what to do if there is another delay. I'm not sure what to do at this point and am unable to eat all day. Can't think straight and decide it's best to stay away from her. She is aware of how much I miss her and my son, but I'm not sure if she will return. Shall I just be calm and give her some time? I don't have all of her email addresses or passwords, so let her get in touch with me. I don't think it will do much help that she changed the chip in her phone while she was abroad. Is it possible that she is simply asking me to miss and value her more? She is seriously thinking of taking my child and running away. She simply brought a bag and left all of her clothes behind. She is staying with my son's mother, her sister-in-law, and her 3 children. She thus constantly has a large group of companions around her. She did admit that she was worried about returning because now that it's just she and me, she would be alone and that she needs her family's support. We share a family, thus this also saddened me. How about my isolation? My family has all left. She seems to be moving away from me the more kind I have been. Indeed, I was a bit of a jerk before she went, and she is aware of how much I detest her departure. I did realize she was hoping to visit her father before he died away. She told me she needed more romance, more patience, and love from me, among other things. This space, in my perspective, is hurting our relationship since I'm becoming more resentful. Additionally, our recent chats have been awful. She declared her love for me this morning and that she would be leaving the house for the first time in many days to take a stroll and get some fresh air. We haven't spoken to each other since we first met, and we haven't spoken to her all day. Never sought treatment for any reason. Positively, she left because her dad passed away, not because things were wrong between us. When she departed, we were genuinely in a terrific position. Since everything is pricey there, she doesn't have any money to stay or at least no income. See, no one knows about the other man, of course, but as I said, before she went, we were in a beautiful position. Furthermore, I've always known where she is. Visited the hospital with my father, my mother, and my sister-in-law. She is not one to go out and party. Since my 2-year-old son has never left her sight since his birth, I can't fathom her entering a relationship a week after her father passed away. The drawbacks, she claimed she didn't miss me, wasn't sure whether she loved me, and would be alone when she returned. I find that a lot of this seems quite immature. She claims that despite her brother's cancer, we did not spend enough time in romance. Along with raising a child with 3 times the bills and dad's sickness, consoling her every night while she sobs over the death in her family did not make for a romantic relationship. She also doesn't seem to care that I'm missing my son. Right now, everything seems to be about her. I was considering writing her a kind letter or email, but I can't stand to hear that she's no longer lucid. Thus, I'm guessing that I won't be talking to her tonight. Right now, I find it impossible to even consider accusing her of cheating, especially in front of her mother and the nieces and nephews she helped raise. Our 2-year-old son, shortly after the death of her father. I know it's not always possible for someone who has been duped to say yes, but it does happen. How are you aware? But in this instance, I just have serious doubts. She was probably upset with me for having an argument with her during this period, but I believe that she has moved past it. She seems to like spending time with her large family, in my opinion, rather than being home by myself while I work with our son. Everyone adores our son, who is there with her. It also pays her a great deal of attention. I didn't want her to stay for too long for this reason. She had only been there twice, and she detested it for the first 2 weeks, eventually adjusts to it. She will then have to acclimate to life here once more when she returns home. It affects our family life and makes us feel a little down and unhappy till she gets back to normal, and we can enjoy happy times once more. What then really pisses me off? She was single, lived in a small apartment, and worked 60 hours a week as a teacher to almost make ends meet when I first met her. She wasn't getting along well with her family, no kid, etc. Back home, things weren't so great and the most of her friends were married. We had a beautiful son, went on long-distance dates, were married, and I have paid for everything since then. Although it's only money, every cent I made required labor and worry, and I gave it to her. From where she was, her life took on greater significance and improved multiple times. Her worries about money subsided. Her greatest desire was to start a family. Then, for 2 years, I listened and comforted as well. She has had family ailments for the most of our marriage. I find it difficult to deal with as well. Every day, her mother would call to exaggerate and deliver the worst news imaginable. I also saw my wife sob. She also told me that we should be together forever before she went. We're closer than ever, things are improving, and she can now return to Brazil with her lovely son and all the attention she deserves. But what does she tell me when I work every day, worry, feel sick, and crave more romance? I'm not sure if I miss you, so I'm trying to relive the good times, but I'm not sure if I love you. It seems like she can only exist in the present, and she doesn't show me the gratitude, respect, or commitment that I deserve. Sure, going on vacation is a lot of fun, but is that really life? You also don't know where you were before to meeting me. Furthermore, I consider the opposite of this and wonder how she would react if I brought our son to Europe and we began to play similar games. Honey, I'm not sure whether I miss you and I'm not sure exactly when I'll be returning. I'm trying to be sympathetic to all the deaths she had to go through. But when I consider things from numerous angles, it is hard for me to stay composed and understanding. Well, things started to become worse. She informed me on Thursday that she would return on Monday. All day we engaged in small chat. I told her I was going to the airport to purchase our son a gift, etc. Then, on Thursday night, she simply stated that she is not returning just yet since she is anxious about our argument, which sparked a different dispute. I was not yelling or anything, and I tried to convince myself to keep my cool. However, it was essentially a demand. When she inquired about my work on Friday, I informed her that I needed to employ someone to handle our website. She was furious all day after learning it was a girl. I failed to understand why. My last site designer was also a female. That still enraged her. She took it to the point where you were sleeping with a girl. The female I hired is not even aware of my residence. She works remotely. However, my wife is furious. All else I know is that she was very anxious about flying home to meet her dad and didn't want to go. She is now anxious to return. She hasn't changed her ticket at this point, but she has orally informed me that she will remain longer. Honestly, it also makes me feel a lot better on the inside. It just seems to have the opposite impact when I try to explain, tell her that I miss her and my son, and ask her to think again. She then solidifies her decision to not go back even farther. This has emotionally exhausted me to the point where going dark shouldn't be too hard. I believe that over the last few weeks, I communicated with her much more frequently. She then started asking how my day had gone yesterday when I had a day off. What state are you in? How did you proceed? How far did you go? What food did you consume? How do you feel once more? When it came to her homecoming date, there was less uncertainty. For the last 48 hours, she has been telling me to go duck myself. This prompted me to repeatedly clarify that I am not very good at web development, and that I required assistance because the other web person got a new job. She seems angry even if nothing is happening in the world. I'm not sure how to interpret that, then. This is how, if I had to guess, I would describe the circumstances. In actuality, she doesn't understand us. She responds more in response to her immediate emotions and lacks long-term thinking skills. For whatever reason, she keeps bringing up our foolish disputes from 2 years ago. It seems that she has forgotten all of the enjoyable moments. Everything was wonderful once more after she went. She traveled abroad to see her father one more time rather than to abandon me. All we have been doing is fighting, and she detests strife. She is enjoying the attention she is receiving now that she is there. She also loves to flaunt our gorgeous baby, who has blue eyes and golden hair. See, our boy, her, and I are the only people in our lives together. She still has friends, though some have moved away or lived farther away. She is more alone with simply our son when I get to work. She is with her mother, her sister-in-law, and her 3 grown nephews, whom she essentially reared, back at home, and an enormous number of godmothers, aunts, uncles, and cousins. She loves it when they all give our son so much attention. Lots of rumors, people coming and departing, etc. All the time. I go through thought periods that occasionally vary hourly. I'm alone and she seems to be playing this game, which enrages me. Sorry, her father recently passed away. A lack of confidence given her repeated changes to her return date. I worry that she might not come back and that I won't get to see my son. There might be another, especially after reading this forum's thoughts. Divorce is something I'm considering. Ideas of comprehension. Just totally disoriented. In any case, I paid for her trip in November, and they recently paid for it again in February. It's not exactly inexpensive. This was the final time I could barely afford to send her. I spent all of our savings so she could leave. I then gave back some items I had bought to pay for the utilities, rent, and other expenses. I finally had stuff to do to get my seasonal business out of the hole we found ourselves in. I was also annoyed with myself because I was the one who invariably inquired about her father's health. She refused to call the doctor there when I requested her to. She had just received information from her mother, but no one trusts her because of how dramatic she is all the time. Since I was being extra cautious and saving money so she could go without even telling me, I was the man telling her no to what she wanted to do. Our entire disagreement has been about these shifting dates. Her 20-year-old nephew, who currently resides in the house with her, and I had a conversation, and I inquired as to her well-being, activities, etc. He said he was certain she was coming back and that he had no indication anything was wrong. He claimed that she never leaves the house without our son and his mother and that she always talks well of me. He mentioned that she has been crying a lot and is distraught about her father's death. She messaged me last night, claiming she has never been this depressed in her life, and she has been acting a little gloomy lately. I merely said, I know, too. It's awful. Good luck with your evening. She messaged me this morning, stating that she had been crying all morning. Why? I inquired. She said, forget it. I merely said okay without trying to probe. She messages me a few hours later to find out what I'm doing. I'm not sure where I am. With whom? I mentioned hanging out earlier. I'm doing great. You don't have to ask how I'm doing. That's all that has happened for the last few hours, she said. I will be brief and won't be getting in touch with her. It appears that things are shifting slightly, but it's hard to tell for sure. I have no idea how she is feeling at all. Is she grieving in agony? Is there another person present? She said she was returning within a day, then made a complete 180-degree reversal and said she wasn't, which really upset me. I told her I was eager to meet her and I was kind, and caring all day. She continued, we need to talk, and I'm not coming. We've been friends for years, so she knows she can talk to me about her dad at any moment. I feel like I'm being played with right now, and I'm returning the day after Easter. Not returning, not sure I'm in love. I'm not sure about anything, I'm just feeling a little better after a little separation. She has damaged me so much that I truly don't know what more can be done. Keeping the child overseas, whether or not they are angry at the time, is abusive in and of itself. Perhaps she should take a seat and reflect for a while rather than arguing with me. Whoa, I just learned a ton of stuff. My wife is unaware that we communicate, but I spoke with her nephew and he informed me that she had rescheduled her ticket for April 9th. Her mother, the most selfish, insane, and domineering lady on the planet, just serves to exacerbate the situation, has been attempting to persuade my spouse to remain so that she is not by herself. She's even been attempting to get her a job. Currently, my spouse is once more residing with her. It seems as though I've been living in a fog. Her mother, from what I understand, ended my wife's first marriage when she was 22. Tried for years to end her son's marriage despite the fact that he is a father of 3 children. She still despises his spouse. I have since learned that she is receiving applications for my wife's job and proposing to live with her. That is the reason my wife started behaving strangely. Very perplexed. Every day, her mother has been pushing stuff into her head. My wife had never previously been so puzzled. My wife feels obligated to stay because her mom is now alone after 50 years of marriage. My spouse also seemed to be on board with it. It's not her mother I've been speaking to, but her family. They are all contacting me in an attempt to get her to come back. They all claim to have never seen her like this and that she is simply puzzled. They're not understanding. Tomorrow, she is having lunch with a married couple who have been her lifelong friends, in an attempt to help her and provide me with further information on the circumstances. My wife and I communicate via text messaging throughout the day to find out about my whereabouts. However, she becomes silent when someone asks her what's going on. She just told me she feels unwell, hasn't eaten, has been throwing up all day, and has been crying all day, which her family has also informed me. She stated that she needed 1 additional week to clear her brain. And my wife is aware of her toxic mother. She has told me countless times that even after hearing all the tales, I was still afraid that her mother would use my wife as a tool. And the surrender of my wife. My wife's mother was the one I was afraid of, not her infidelity. I shouldn't worry too much because in the 5 weeks they have been together, they have only spoken 3 times due to her mother abusing her and evicting my wife. I'm hoping that when I see my wife, the flame will ignite again. That is my greatest wish, and I'm sure she will feel strongly when she sees my son and myself together. The other thing that I've noticed, more than ever since this previous trip and staying with her family, is the disparities in our cultures. Individuals tend to break their word and say whatever seems good at the time. 3 separate persons volunteering to drive us to the airport may be an example, but they could decide to change their minds at any time and not even let you know if you accept their offer. That's how every day is with everything. Be less regimented, with no set supper or bedtimes, just a group of people going as they like, whenever they desire. See conversations that are less serious. It is more about wanting to feel happy right now and postponing difficulties. In reality, nobody works. It's the beach. Enjoy a nighttime companionship. Rumors. In a way, I could understand why my wife felt comfortable there right now. Just rumors. There are tons of family and friends nearby, everyone is swooning over our son, etc. However, the truth is that benefactors are always present in families such as her in-laws, usually paid for by a wealthy parent. It is a dreadful place to live if you are not wealthy because everything there is so pricey. She only criticizes my every move at this point. After a divorce, there is no going back and no desire for treatment. Last night was the first time we had not slept in the same bed. Unless, of course, she was absent. It's her first day back, and although she generally changes, not to this extent. She stayed inside the house. After I went shopping, worked, and brought my son out, she just stayed home in her pajamas, fuming at everything I did. There was a mess, I neglected to buy a specific item, etc. My strategy is to exercise patience, and maybe in a few weeks she will come to terms with her new life here and land the job that she says she wants. And observe the course of events. I find it absurd that she believes me to be open to her extravagant dreams of working for an airline in any capacity, being able to obtain me buddy passes so that I can travel for free to see my son when she moves to Brazil. And she believes that to be okay. The whole idea sounds absurd considering that Rio is currently among the most expensive cities in the world. She wants to send the child to this daycare because she is finding it difficult to be a stay-at-home mother right now. But after this, she'll be a single mother raising our son while working 50 hours a week, having no free time, no additional money, and going through extreme hardship. Rio's rent has soared, and she may as well give up on ever getting a car, fresh attire, etc. The tariffs are absurd. The child would require private education. You will either have to be extremely wealthy or lead a very impoverished life in a more hazardous location. She struggled to support herself on her own in Brazil. Thus, her entire scheme appears absurd. She wanted things to be worked out just before she arrived. She now stated that she is looking for work and that she wants me to cover the cost of daycare so she can save money and go to Brazil with my son, while in the meanwhile, I provide her with support for a few months. She said, I am selfish and only think of myself, when I told her that this was absurd. She also plans to provide me $1,000 a month once she gets to Brazil in exchange for seeing me twice a year and a boy she essentially abducted. She said she would bring him to see me as well, and I would cover her travel and lodging expenses for a period of 2 months while I was here. I'm not sure if my wife's thoughts are simply insane or if I'm becoming mad. She is wandering around grumpy, depressed, and angry, and she won't even recognize me. She said that she had no money and that she was going to move to Brazil with my son. Begin by just sleeping on her sister-in-law's floor, then go on to a job, an apartment, and money transfers. At this point, I can be quite content that I won't be seeing my son anymore. She fails to consider that they will require housing, food, clothing, a car, all of the expenses, and education for my son. Does she really believe that I would put my son in this predicament? How could she think my son is someone else's property? Only her son, all of it. I am aware that I must put myself first. However, I wonder whether any other man had a wife or ex-wife that thought this way about things. When I arrive home from work, she has a different idea. She is willing to make amends with me as long as I give her the passport and sign a document allowing my son to accompany her on future trips to see relatives in her native country. It's not a legal document, just something that she and I draft and present to the notary. Her tone about working shifted immediately, and now she has a job interview today. She claims the money won't be much more, says she wants to see and take care of our son every day instead of daycare, and all she wants from me is an allowance. I believe that she now understands how fortunate she was, which is what we previously experienced. She says I keep her from working, but she ultimately doesn't want to stop being a stay-at-home mother. I advise her to attend the interview despite the fact that she is interested in fashion for the job. Furthermore, I will not be giving her the passport. I'm not sure if this is a scam or a real passport at this moment. In any case, I'm not handing it to her since I don't feel good about it yet. In any case, my son will be safe with me as long as the passport is secure, which it is. The door is always open in case she wants to go alone. The peculiar thing is that most women seem to take these concepts seriously when they flout them. Regarding my spouse, I am certain that she is currently sincere. It only depends on when. Is she truly ready to get a divorce and become a working single mother? Is her hatred of me truly as great as she claims it is? I'm confused as well. Does she want to live in Brazil, work, and care the child? Really, I have no idea. After a while, things have improved. We've gotten closer to becoming a couple again since she gave up on her attempt to travel to Brazil. Still, she sleeps in the other room. We had a pleasant Sunday, and we're even sharing a kiss. Up until she lost it and started berating me for not parking near enough to our door. Claims that I parked too near a wall, and refused to assist her in getting the youngster out of our car. This was really aggravating, especially after I took her out for supper and breakfast and then spent 4 hours at the mall. As a result, we did not speak again that evening. See, we always fight, she says. She makes a special effort to complicate matters before stating, see, you're not helping. She could take our son and get out of the car, then struggle while holding both hands full of things. My hands are already full in these instances, and she knows that I would ultimately end up going back to the car. You don't help, she has to take care of me, poor me. Look, it seems like I'm trying to make drama by needing aid. The good news is that my spouse was hired to teach preschool. In addition, my son will get free schooling. This is a very wonderful moment for her. This is the question I have. When women say cruel things, how do men respond to that? Allow me to illustrate. After she got the job, she texted me to say she would now have money to spoil me. Our young man, cash to purchase personal items. It was good to hear that. In her enthusiasm, she was also thinking of all the items she liked to purchase. Travels, getaways, etc. Then again, she states this in the same phrase. I'm not sure if she was thinking at all. I was troubled by this on several levels since I would really like to celebrate my birthday in Brazil with my loved ones. 1. Again, we'll divide and conquer. 2. It definitely pains me a little to want to spend a day like that without me. 3. Will there be another battle over the child issue, stay or go? 4. Again, obsessed with returning home as soon as possible. Moreover, I don't want to hear this every day. How then is this handled? I used to voice my concerns to her, inform her that she is being conceited, describe how we are now a family, saying something like, how would you feel if my birthday plan was to leave you alone and head back home? Is how I would twist it. Always, these things resulted in a fight. This time, I chose to dismiss it entirely, but the next day at work, it bothered me. My spouse is more spiritual and devout, so it seems like we will never be at peace. I suppose what she did was give up her favorite things for 3 weeks, and she asked God to restore things with us to how they had been. She didn't drink coffee as a result. That's why she was sleeping on the floor, dessert, Diet Coke. Thus, everything have returned to normal. She put her ring back on, is back in bed with me, says she loves her job, and our relationship is back to how it used to be. Her laugh and grin have returned, and she has truly changed. After speaking with her aunt, she discovered that her mother would require cardiac surgery or a pacemaker. Thus, it was her mom at first, followed by her dad, brother, and finally her grandmother. My wife cried yesterday again, seeing her mother dying or in critical condition. She does not yet know how much of this is true. I'm hoping my wife won't relapse into depression. After a year, the good news is that my son returned to the United States, and for the past year, things have gone rather well. My spouse traveled to Brazil for a week by herself last month. She justified this by saying that she needed to see friends and a dentist. She would become irate when I would inquire who or comment that it's absurd to pay $300 to see a dentist. Furious, scream, call names, scream, etc. in order to pay for her ticket. She has been working part-time. I had to hire a sitter for $500. Now that she's back, I'm having the worst time ever. She just discusses divorce, refuses to share a bed, refuses to communicate with me, etc. She appears to have calmed down 2 days ago and suggested that we live as roommates. Of course, I continue to pay for my car, my rent, my bills, my lovely house, etc. She claims, however, that she has since launched a new company and is bringing goods to Brazil for sale. She informed me that I should take time off work as my business pays all of the bills, and she is going in 2 weeks, again by herself, or hire a babysitter. She will keep all of the money she says she will earn, allowing her to move out and eventually acquire her own place. I'm lost and so tired, not sure how to proceed. Hit a divorce and only rarely see my child. Not of a house and not renew the lease. I have 5 days to make up my mind. Simply feel ill. If she is having an affair, I don't know. It's quite likely. She's being influenced by someone. Possibly her mother. All I have done is put up with this, hoping that for our son's sake she will return to reality. It's unbelievable that she would be willing to abandon her son and declare her intention to depart at any moment in order to transport items to Brazil. I will not give her my son's passport. I own it. She claims a court will enable her to get a divorce so my son can travel to Brazil. She is so unstable right now that it is difficult to maintain my son's serenity at home because she doesn't even seem to care, merely considering herself. I am responsible for paying all of the bills because they are in my name and she works part-time. Uncertain about how to stop giving her money. Speaking with 2 attorneys today, they both stated that no judge will permit her to remove my son from the nation. Due to his age of 3 and his record, a custody case might cost between $20,000 and $30,000. They said that since this is solid evidence that she simply disappears, I should let her travel to Brazil by herself. Speaking with lawyers presents a challenge since, naturally, they would say anything to win your business. A person will never choose a lawyer who offers unpleasant news to them right away. Thus, even though everyone advises consulting a lawyer, the truth won't be known until the case is decided. The challenging aspect for me is that, although it took a lot of time and labor to customize our home to our tastes, my son adores it. Upon speaking with several attorneys, they all seem extremely optimistic that I may obtain primary custody, or that no judge would give her complete custody given her prior actions. As long as I do not sign, my son will not be able to travel. I also had a conversation with a friend of mine from my previous job who is Brazilian by marriage. Since our stories are the same, I believe it must be the culture. For similar reasons, he is a stick. Additionally, they claim that alimony awarded prior to the 7th year is uncommon unless the man is extremely wealthy. For instance, $300,000. I'm at peace at last, 6 months later. Nearly. We are mediating after holding a temporary hearing. To put it simply, my wife took a trip to her home nation. I met a man, got to know him for a week, then returned and asked for a divorce. He gave her money for furniture, a lawyer, and an apartment. Roughly 25-0. Our son is 3 years old. On my days, she drops off my son and wants to give me a hug. Grins in my direction, behaving as though nothing occurred. She never acknowledged having cheated. Never expressed regret. Nothing at all. She finds it offensive that I am rather short. She sobs, becomes irate, and remarks. You want her to agree with your feelings and logic. That this is not correct. You want her to understand how you see this. Not likely to occur. She is not under your control, and you cannot make her feel the way you desire. You become irritated as a result. You must thus let go. Your irritation and rage are not helping you. Opus answers. Let go and feel so much better. Ignoring the text she sent. She texted me this morning to say she went to church and would pray for every one of us. I didn't respond, but I'm not sure what it implies. A few hours later, she texted me to ask how my son's weekend had gone, to which he answered, can't tell. She then warned me not to tell my kid to keep secrets from her. It's not public knowledge. She then texts you to say she's sorry to annoy you. In the past, though, I would have responded right away, telling her how absurd her accusations against me were. I simply choose not to respond to anything today as I can obviously see what she is doing. Attempting to elicit a response by being kind or by making accusations against me. Then I find myself lured into a circular and nonsensical argument that merely annoys me. When I brought this up to her throughout the past few months, she consistently said, I never cheated. I have a hard time forgetting she ever stated, we were separated. Really aggravates me. She had lied about everything for the past year in order to maintain this romance. She had wired her $30,000 for an apartment, and I had to read her mail to find out. I also remember that we were together on Mother's Day, attorney, etc. May was when we were sharing a bed. We never talked about becoming separated. We have a 3-year-old, so my problem is that I have to visit her a couple times a week. She also wants to embrace and chat to me when I see her, acting as though nothing occurred at all. I'm even more hurt, enraged, whatever word you want to use, about this. Given that she is an emotional person, I suppose. I would have anticipated a heartfelt apology from her, acknowledging her mistakes and expressing regret for the harm she caused to both our son and myself. Whenever I brought up the subject, though, she would only become irate. Do individuals such as these truly believe they did not cheat? Do these women have an odd way of rationalizing what they do? Do they simply ignore what they accomplished? However, I'm on the verge of losing interest in my son. I hope she doesn't get well. This guy outfitted the house my son resides in, which we own together. She's going to be driving an automobile he bought soon. He won't be seeing me as much as he will soon be living with another man. And by losing interest, I mean she's got him for Thanksgiving, for instance. She has, however, been hinting for weeks that I can have him all week. She obviously wants to stay with her partner. Even though I miss my son, I don't want to be her go-to person to make her life easy. I have debts to pay and a job to do. It also cost me tens of thousands of dollars. She doesn't care because someone else paid for her. However, she always starts crying when I see her, which I had to do 4 times a week on average. She needs me, he said in class after their divorce. At other times, she acts as though nothing happened. She is cheerful and amiable. Almost makes me more irate. How then have some of you moved on while maintaining your parental qualities? Give up the hate and stop harboring such bitterness in your life. My comment simply begins with hanging out with pals. That's how you forget about someone for the first time. That's what I carried out. How did you go about putting your ex behind you? Leave a comment, and I'll see you tomorrow.